Hey everyone, join us on this episode where we announce the return of duckDNA for the 2025-26 season. We visit with Dr. Phil Lavretsky at the University of Texas El Paso and have him share some updates on some very cool results that we've gotten from the first few years. We also have Kayci Messerly and Sharrow joining us here to tell about some of the great work they've been doing associated with duckDNA. And we hear from Daniel Hayes of Mossy on their great support of duckDNA through the Mossy 2025 Waterfowl Conservation Stamp. Tons of information. Stay with us. You won't want to miss this episode.
Can we do a mic check, please?
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Ducks Unlimited podcast.
I'm your host, Dr. Mike Brasher.
I'm your host, Katie Burke.
I'm your host, Dr. Jared Henson. And I'm your host, Matt Harrison.
Welcome to the Ducks Unlimited podcast, the only podcast about all things waterfowl. From hunting insights to science-based discussions about ducks, geese, and issues affecting waterfowl and wetlands conservation in North America. The DU Podcast, sponsored by Purina Pro Plan, the official performance dog food of Ducks Unlimited. Purina Pro Plan, always advancing. Also proudly sponsored by Bird Dog Whiskey and Cocktails. Whether you're winding down with your best friend or celebrating with your favorite crew, Bird Dog brings award-winning flavor to every moment. Enjoy responsibly.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I am Dr. Mike Brasher. I'm going to be your host on this episode, and it's a very exciting episode. I'm happy to be joined in studio by two of our conservation science assistants. First, to my right, Sharrow. Great to have you.
Great to be here.
You've been with us here at Ducks Unlimited since when? February?
February of last year, yeah.
You've been working hard behind the scenes on a whole variety of things, duckDNA being one of those. And I guess I just sort of let the cat out of the bag. We're here to talk about duckDNA, exciting stuff. And so you're going to share some of what you've been doing. Also to my left, Kayci Messerly, another one of our conservation science assistants. Kayci, good to be back. Good to have you back here.
Glad to be back.
I will give a shout out to our other conservation science assistants that is in the studio here with us, that's off camera, helping us keep us straight on various aspects of the conversation. Katie Tucker, she was on last year with us, and Katie is still here and involved in a variety of things. And so we are indeed here to talk about duckDNA returning for the 2025-26 season. And as always, when we do so, we welcome our friend and famous guest, Dr. Phil Lavretsky, all the way from El Paso, Texas. Phil, great to have you back.
Always glad to be here.
Here we are again, doing another one of these. We are excited to announce officially on our on the Ducks Unlimited podcast that duckDNA is back for the 25-26 season. The announcement, the official announcement, I guess, that we first put out, I guess that went out by way of social media, something of that nature. That was when? Early September?
Yep, on Instagram.
Okay, so Instagram, Facebook, we made that announcement. We already have how many applicants? What do we have?
We've got 2,700 and a couple extras in there.
A couple extra. Great. So if you've already applied, thank you. If you have not applied yet and you're interested in having your name in the hat to, be eligible to participate, go to duckDNA.com, follow the instructions. We're going to step you through a lot of that and some of the changes that we've made this year. We're going to show you some fancy things. We're going to be some results from the past couple of years. We're going to talk about some of what we posted on Instagram and some of the questions we get. And in a few minutes, at some point here during this episode, we're going to be joined by a good friend from Mossy Oak. I'll sort of leave a little bit of mystery there in terms of who's going to join us. But we have some exciting things to announce regarding Mossy Oak and their support for what we're doing. So I think where we will start is introducing folks to sort of the new process, the new way that you apply. For the past 2 years, we've had our standard 3-vial kits, and then you can contact us by Instagram or email and request a kit if you had a hybrid bird or something of that nature. And we've tried to formalize the application process for both of those kits a little more this year. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go video here. So if you're listening to this in your vehicle or wherever, you'll want to check out some of the video that we're putting together for this. We're going to duckDNA.com duckDNA.com. We're going to show this on the screen. And then I'm going to let Kayci, I'm going to navigate. You tell me what to do, and we'll kind of see all this as it comes up, if that's okay.
Sounds perfect.
And Chris, you let me know when we are ready. We're good? Okay, we got the thumbs up. So duckDNA.com website is the same as it has been. There's a bit more information here, results and so forth. And we're going to talk with Ty about that here in a second. But you go here, 3 different places where you can apply. If you participated or if you applied in past years, you have to apply again. First thing, go to apply today. Go to apply today, and this is where it gets different.
So, yes. So after you click that Apply Today button, you get taken to our new duckDNA application portal. So this is new for everyone, whether you've applied before or not. And so what you can do is you can then scroll down and you've got a little additional information. And at the very top there, we have got 2 options for events. We have our standard sampling program and our hybrid sampling program. So these 2 options should sound pretty familiar to most of the people that have applied before. But we've created a spot where you can select in one location either option. So that standard sampling program is what you get when you apply and you haven't had a bird harvested already. You get the opportunity to receive 3 vials to harvest and submit Mallard-Like ducks over the course of the hunting season. And then our hybrid sampling program is if you have already harvested a unique or interesting looking duck. And this is when previously you had emailed us. Instead, you're going to go to this portal this year and click on Apply Today for the option that is best representative of what you want to do this season. And you are able to apply for both. So if you get a hybrid later in the year, you can still apply for that hybrid program, even if you sign up for the standard sampling to start with. So
I'm kind of playing around here. I don't know.
Yeah, so you're perfect. So it's where
do you want me to go?
We'll
you
start with our
apply
standard.
today?
Yeah, click on the apply today for our standard sampling program.
Okay.
So this is going to take you into our portal where it's going to ask for a little bit of information so that we can make sure that we select the right person and can contact you. So it'll ask for information like who you're registering. So if you're registering yourself or your child, if they're out hunting with you, your name.
Can I?
You sure can.
Yeah. So you will see this thing here that says sign in. So the platform that we're using is Run Sign Up. We've had maybe a couple of questions about this. If you have ever used Run Sign Up, if you're it's used for mostly for like marathons or running events, things of that nature. But we have adopted it for this. So if you have a Run Sign Up account, if you're familiar with that, you'll know what it is. If not, don't worry about it. You can sign in and it will automatically bring up a bit of your information, I think.
Yes. So if you've already used Run Sign Up before and your information is in the system, you are able to kind of auto-populate. Same vibe as like what's on your phone, that it'll fill some of that information in for you before.
Yeah. So I'm going to do this here. So me, email address, yada, yada, yada. We're going to do all that. So I guess it's asking me to register right here.
Yeah. So it's asking you to register here. And then here you'll see the option again to select the program you're interested in applying for. So just make sure that the one is selected that you want. Typically, since the hunting season hasn't occurred, most people will be applying for that standard sampling right now. But there are a few individuals who have hybrids from previous years that have already submitted for our hybrid program as well.
Okay. And so then I would do all of this.
Yep. So we have our little privacy waiver.
So let me do this here. I'm going to have to pause here. Okay, we're back. Sorry, you want me to do this? Okay. Okay, so we had to take a small break there in order to enter some information. We are back now, and I am logged in to my Run Sign Up because we want to do this so you can see the rest of the process here. So, if you already have a Run Sign Up account, they would use that. If not, then they would register, and then it would take them to this.
And then you have the opportunity to double check that you're signed up for the right program. Most people will be signing up for that standard sampling program right now. And then you click the continue button. You click the waiver.
Do the waiver, do the continue.
Perfect.
Okay, now then.
So now we capture just a few more pieces of information. We want to keep things short and sweet for you guys. So our first question we're going to ask is in which state you primarily hunt in. So you'll go through the list of states and select the one that you hunt the most in. And then we're going to ask you about what we call your hunting avidity. So how many ducks did you harvest?
Definitely more than 11.
And we prefer honest answers in this information. This is just used for us to look on the back end to help us understand sampling and harvesting and the types of birds harvested by certain people.
Yep.
Lastly, we have a section that is only for hybrid participants. So if you clicked on that standard sampling, you can ignore this little section. You can click continue and move on. But if you have a hybrid, please upload photos of that hybrid. This is going to help us also understand what we're looking at. So this is going to give us information about what that hybrid looks like so that we can fill some of the buckets we need to fill to make sure that we have all of the information we need to do our genetic testing.
Okay. And then we hit continue and, what is this?
Oh, wow. So this is something really cool that we've been doing. And recently, for a limited time, we were able to accept donations. And in return, we could send supporters their choice of these lovely duckDNA branded hats that you see here.
Yes. And I think the interesting thing on some of these, this bird right here, this design right here is actually a bird that was submitted last year.
Yes. Right? So shout out to Evan Barefoot for allowing us to use his hybrid that he harvested, his northern pintail mallard hybrid, an absolutely beautiful bird on this merchandise that we have on the website.
And we do want to give a big thank you to everyone that donated because these hats went fast, surprised us in many ways. And so thank you for that. So much so that we are now officially out of inventory. So if you missed out on getting yours, sorry about that. But we are excited to let you know that we have some things in the works. There may be an opportunity to get one of these hats in the future. If you're interested, drop us a line at dupodcast@ducks.org so we can get a good idea for the level of demand and also so we can reach back out to you once those do become available.
So you do want to make sure that you hit the complete registration button. That is going to make sure that your registration goes all the way back to me and that we have it available for selection.
There we go.
And you also get this really cool opportunity at the end to click on this support duckDNA button, which we may talk more about later.
I bet we will. Look at there. It takes us to the Mossy Oak store. If folks are seeing that. And pretty soon we will be joined by someone who can tell us a lot more about that. So yeah, anything else on the registration that we need to talk about, that new process and so forth?
Yeah, the biggest reminder is that if you run into any issues or you're unsure about something, we still have our email available. So please reach out via email to me, Ty, or Katie. We all man that system. We also do have our helpline phone number on our website as well. Pick up the phone, give us a call. We're happy to help you in either method that works best for you.
Thank you very much, Kayci. Ty, what I think we'll do now is talk about some of the results from last year. We're going to bring Phil into this as well, but one of the things that we added to the website last year was a results page. You have been working hard to summarize some of the results, and we're going to get to that in just a second because we have just been joined by our very special guest. The timing is excellent. Daniel Hayes, all the way. Are you in West Point right now?
I'm in West Point right now. I'm at we've got a big old porch on the front of our almost 200-year-old cabin out here where we duck hunt. And I'm out in the country.
Anybody that follows you and your family on Instagram will recognize that cabin as the source of a lot, the backdrop for a lot of photos and a lot of information that y'all put out. Daniel Hayes with Mossy Oak. Great for you to be with us. We just went through, Daniel, our new application process for duckDNA. And one of the things that we once people go through that application process. And Daniel, I don't know if you've actually gone all the way through this. There is an option on the very last page where it gives folks gives folks an opportunity to support duckDNA, and it takes them to this page right here, a Mossy Oak 2025 Waterfowl Conservation stamp page where you can get yours. And there is a very good reason why we are directing people to this site, and it relates to a very generous offer that you and your family and your entire company has made to Ducks Unlimited, UTEP, Dr. Lavretsky, our staff, in supporting the duckDNA project. And so, Daniel, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about that from your perspective. And thank you again for joining us here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You and Phil, it's been great to build a friendship through Mossy Oak, and we're so proud of the gamekeeper side of the brand and all that Dad and my granddad have injected into Mossy Oak with the culture of conservation. And we always say that one of our biggest goals is to make conservation cool. Certainly the two of you have gone as far as anybody in recent memory in the duck world to make conservation cool for waterfowl. You're doing a heck of a job. So I think we're all kind of kindred spirits. And we're honored to support and be a part of this project. I didn't even know about it when Phil first came on the Gamekeeper podcast. I was not in West Point that day, and Bobby Cole sent me the link after the episode came out, and my brother Neil and I both listened to it, and we were mind blown that all this was kind of happening under a bunch of duck hunters' noses without ever really being brought aware of it. And so it was one of those episodes that you hear occasionally where you send it to every single duck hunting buddy that you have because you want them all to hear it too. And that's how you know that you're onto something, is that I think that there are thousands of duck hunters have had that same response when they hear about the work that you're doing. They want everybody in their group text or everybody at their duck club or that they hunt with to hear about it. And so the word started to get around, and then people start to look for more information about it and want to get educated about it. And that's where you start to uncover how cool the work that you're doing is, where for the first time in a long time, there's not a lot of projects that have that hunter citizen scientist aspect to it in the year 2025. But this has such a cool aspect of participation that you just don't get very much anymore. So it's all been such a cool project for us to learn about and help spread the word about.
Yeah, well, Daniel, our entire group here, and I know Phil online as well, have been absolutely thrilled to welcome Mossy Oak into the support for this project. We had a conversation with y'all several months ago, and you shared with us the idea of wanting to use the proceeds from the sale of these waterfowl conservation stamps to help fund this project. And we were ecstatic, and we're like, absolutely, we want to do it. We have a ton of ideas on how we can help promote what y'all are trying to do, sort of in tandem, and then helping the project in the process. And so this is a great. I mean, we've done a little bit of that kind of promotion up until now, but with this episode and a lot of stuff that we have forthcoming, I think we have a really good opportunity to showcase what we can do as partners on this project. And so I guess just to kind of get into some of that, when people go to the Mossy Oak store, and I mean, if you arrive there after you've applied for duckDNA, or if you just go there on your own, you will go to the you'll find the waterfowl conservation stamp, get yours today. They can purchase as many of these as they want, right? There's no limit on the number that you can purchase. And so, correct me, Daniel, but I think what this says here is there's a beautiful message here from your dad down here at the bottom of this page. Talks about what conservation means to him, means to your family, talks about the excitement and the interest that y'all have in this project. And it says that 100% of the proceeds from the sale of these stamps will go exclusively to support UTEP and Ducks Unlimited in delivering the duckDNA project. I mean, anytime in our profession we get support for the science that we think is valuable. It's a really special thing, but to do it sort of under the banner of names like Ducks Unlimited and Mossy Oak, I mean, that's pretty cool. Mossy Oak, it also means a little bit something extra special to me just because you're a Mississippi born and made and continue to be there in Mississippi business. And I have Mississippi ties there. And so I have a lot of pride there as well personally. But it's so cool, and everything that you've done here, I think, allows that to shine through. So, thank you, Daniel. Anything else? Like tell us about the artwork. Share with us anything else here about what's going on.
We wanted the artwork to kind of have a little bit of old school flair. So our really when the stamp originated. We've done 4 wild turkey stamps, and when it started, it was really just because the past 5-6 years, there's been a lot of concern in the turkey hunting world about the state and the health of wild turkey population. And Phil did a lot of crossover work there with our buddy Dr. Chamberlain, so he knows a lot about it. But there was a lot of concern for the health of the wild turkey. And we were kind of sitting around talking about, we love old books and print stories, all that kind of good stuff, wildlife art. And we were, talking about the fact that you have the migratory bird stamp, which is the most famous stamp in the world. But 40 years ago, you couldn't hunt or fish for any species in any state in the country without having either a fish or wildlife specific license or a stamp for that type of game. And, if you're looking really broadly at every state, they're kind of going to cater to the big 2, whitetail deer and largemouth bass. And so from a really distant view, you wouldn't think that any other species even exist. Thankfully, because of the conservation history that from Ducks Unlimited and just from our government, ducks have always been taken care of. But because of that, we're like, hey, well, why doesn't anybody sell a turkey stamp anymore? There's only like 2 states at this time that do it. Every other state other than the duck stamp has kind of discontinued every other species stamp. And so we were talking about it, we're like, well, I mean, there's no rule that says Mossy Oak can't just make our own stamp and see if anybody buys one. So, we printed turkey stamps. We listed them on our website for $15. Every penny of that $15, we just covered the cost of the printing and stuff like that ourselves. And so all $15 went to this grassroots fund we started called Gamekeeper Grants, so that we could write grants to whatever project we wanted to. Put it on our site, and it was right when turkey season had kind of gotten kicked off. And before the end of turkey season, we had sold over $100,000 of turkey stamps, which was just crazy. It blew us away. And so we've done that every year since. And we wanted to do a duck stamp, but we didn't want to do a duck stamp unless we had, because there's just not the same state of concern with ducks as there was with turkeys. And because of the way funding is set up for ducks, it didn't seem as urgent to just do it without having a project tethered to it. And so once we met Dr. Phil and learned more about duckDNA, I was like, oh, this is perfect. We, as nobody knows better than Ducks Unlimited, because the iconic magazine and all other forms of media that have matured over the years through Ducks Unlimited, nobody knows better the importance of culture and marketing and message behind conservation. You can't just have funding. You can't just have good people that are willing to do the work. You have to have buy-in from whatever your community is. Nobody gets that better than DU. That's always been a pinnacle of Mossy Oak's culture, what we stand for. That's why gamekeepers exist and all that. So anyway, we learned about duckDNA. We're like, this is the perfect project. It's a great thing for Mossy Oak to use the gamekeeper side of our brand for, and the core part of Mossy Oak to help spread the word about. And then also the stamp is a really cool direct way to raise more funding and to give, if somebody just has $15 to give or just has $30 to give and they want it to go to a good cause, every penny, if you're also enthusiastic about duckDNA, every penny from that donation to buy a stamp is going to go to this project, and you get a cool little piece of artwork that's preserving. It's pretty hard to make a living as a wildlife artist these days. Not a lot of them, and so you're preserving a cool art form as well. So all of that together makes for a really cool project that we're really excited to help support and do whatever we can. And then also we've got the DU Expo was such a blast and had a great turnout for it first year being back in Memphis, and we had our Friday night gathering, drink one for the ducks, and it was $10 or $15 cover charge to get in the door there, and all that money goes to duckDNA as well. And so it's just fun to have all these, any little project that we can do in the duck world right now that has a conservation message tied to it. It's fun to have duckDNA be the recipient of it. It's such a worthwhile project that we want to make sure that it's easy to get enthusiastic about anything, not just in conservation, right when you hear about it, and then your enthusiasm wanes. But, you need commitment year after year after year. So hopefully all these different sources of funding and enthusiasm behind duckDNA will help the longevity of it.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things to point out here. Daniel, again, massive thank you to you and your family for doing this. And then I'm going to give Phil a chance to say a few words and offer his thanks as well. But so you mentioned the federal duck stamp. Coincidentally, today is the day of the federal duck stamp judging of the contest. It's going on right now as we record this. We were actually watching it a little bit before we came in here. So that's pretty cool to reference that stamp while we're talking about this. The other thing that I'll do, you mentioned the stamp, so this is, I actually got this at the DU Expo, what I'm showing here, the envelope containing one of the stamps. I sort of borrowed a page from what typically happens with the federal waterfowl stamp. If you're there the first day of sale, you get signatures and get people to sign it and all that kind of stuff. So I met you and your dad and your brother, and I got all three of you to sign my stamp, and so that's pretty special thing in itself. And so this is, I guess, can we do the overhead shot? This is what the stamp looks like, and I'm assuming, yep, there's the stamp. Now, I don't know that you will, and then I'm not trying to suggest everybody swing by. Well, I guess I could suggest everybody swing by West Point and see if they can get a signature. If everybody's there, sure, more traffic to the business for you. So
you might not find me if I'm out here.
That's right. But anyway, it is modeled after sort of the design of the current federal duck stamp in terms of the shape and self-adhesive nature of it. So pretty cool in that regard. The other thing that I will point out, and this overhead shot will have just revealed, is that this is a mock-up of the kit. First time this has ever been seen by the public, I think. Actually, it may have been seen, one version of this may have been seen elsewhere at a DU event associated with DUX. This is the new kit that lucky participants will receive. This is a mock-up. This is some outstanding work that Katie Tucker did on very short notice when we came up with this idea. It's like, let's get the shadow grass camo. We actually have one that's in Bottomland also, but we ended up going with shadow grass. And Katie printed this off, and I don't know if we used Elmer's glue. Probably didn't use was it Elmer's glue? It was Elmer's glue. She's shaking her head. So this was like in our office mocking this up to show to Daniel and his team. But this is what folks will receive if they are selected, is a mossy oak shadow grass camo pattern that is printed on the kit. This is a single vial hybrid kit, does not have any of the material in there. But yeah, we did this in like a day, 2 days, something of that nature. And so that was a pretty cool thing in itself, and it's exciting to be able to share that as part of this episode. I've talked enough. Phil, I know you have some exciting things to say and words of appreciation to pass along to Daniel, and kind of what all this means to you and the great relationship that you've developed with Daniel and his family.
Yeah, I was wondering if I was going to talk. I was waiting. It's really difficult for me to wait.
Yeah.
In fact, you took my sort of thought behind it away, because I have my stamp right here, but it's not signed. But it's going on our Yeti. And I actually took a picture of us talking here, because as you were talking, Daniel, A, hey, how's it going? B, as you were talking, it blew my mind, because a long time ago, at one point, I was sitting in a blind thinking about what I was seeing in my data, and thinking about, like, God, I wonder if anybody else gives, two thoughts on what I'm seeing and if it's important to them. And your words of encouragement and like thankfulness of like, yeah, thank God we now know what we know, really speaks volume. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate you, your family, Mossy Oak, for everything you guys have been able to do, becoming a partner on this so quickly. I mean, huge things. And as you were saying, I mean, I wish I was at Ducks and at this drink event. I didn't even know about that. I'm learning so many things right now. I didn't even know. That was actually the first time I ever saw our box.
Oh, really?
So,
so
yeah.
You're thinking, what other surprises do we have?
I was like, yeah. No, I mean, like I said, bottom from my heart, thank you to you, your family, and Mossy Oak for everything you guys have done. And I hope that this partnership will continue to grow and now into the future. Hopefully everybody else gets excited about duckDNA as you are. I think you're right. We're going to share some of the results that we're just starting to find, and a lot of the things that we found would not be possible if it wasn't for duckDNA and the hunters out there. And thankfully the hunters think it's cool. They're getting a piece of information. They're helping to grow our knowledge base of what are the problems, if they are there, and what else can we do about them. So again, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. You're the ones doing the work. We're just trying to help out and support where we can. And that shadowgrass looks so good on those boxes. I haven't seen it in person yet, but
yeah, we're going to make sure you get a copy. You and your family get a couple of those kits. And we haven't seen the printed versions yet. We're still waiting on those. We are optimistic that they are going to be outstanding, and we'll make sure you get a copy of those.
We made a custom batch of Whistling Wings Light with our friends at Flyway Brewing for that party, Phil. So you missed out. We had a can. We printed the stamp on the side of the can. It's a great duck camp beer. We have a few cases left, so we'll have to send you a couple of 6-packs.
Or bring me out there, either way.
Yeah, or just come pick it up.
I'm happy to come out there. Are you guys teal hunting? What are you doing?
We're not doing anything right now.
All right.
It's 91 degrees, and we don't have a lick of water anywhere. That's not a fishing pond. So
right on.
We're not doing much of anything. We're just praying for rain by the time November gets here.
Yeah.
There you go.
So Ty, Kayci, y'all are also involved in this. I think y'all may have had a chance to meet Daniel, but anything to say, to pass along based on your experiences or what you have going on?
First of all, just a giant thank you. This is something that we're also excited and passionate about, and we get to see how excited the hunters get with this opportunity as well. And part of our questions over the last year was, are we going to have to start charging for some of this? Like, where do we stand? And this has helped alleviate some of that as well. And so I know the hunters are going to be extremely grateful and absolutely thrilled to also get to engage and be a part of this and its new form that it's taking on.
Yeah, just a big thank you for doing this. This is a great idea. I think the artwork on it's beautiful, and another opportunity to feature some wildlife artists. And there's definitely demand for giving back to the project and giving back to conservation. So thank you.
Heck yeah. A couple of things I forgot to say. One is pointing out that Blake Gore is the guy who did the artwork, but it was based on a hen mallard brood photo by Gary Kramer, who's been contributing to the magazine for years and years. So the other thing I want to say is that today is our big charity event, the Foxhole Shootout down here in West Point. I'm actually headed back out to the venue now. We've got a bunch of live fire cooking going on all day. Those guys are out there sweating their butts off and slaving away for what's going to be a really good meal. The primary benefactors of our event are St. Jude Children's Hospital and Catch a Dream. But the mission is kids and conservation. That's where most of the money goes. But then we also have a little bit of the money from the night going back to Ducks Unlimited and to duckDNA as well. So that's a good conservation part of this. And then the other thing I wanted to say that I thought was cool that happened on its own, but with the turkey stamp, we saw people that started, Phil said he's going to slap one on a Yeti cooler. We've had plenty of people do that. But we've had some people that have bought batches of stamps when turkey season ends to use it as a self-tag. So if they kill 5 turkeys, they buy 5 turkey stamps at the end of the year. And our buddy Jared at Onyx actually he's done it each year, and he has this cooler with all his stamps lined up on it. It looks pretty cool year over year. So if somebody has a successful duck season, I think they might go broke donating money. So maybe you might have to divide by 6 or something every time you get a limit. You buy a tag. Maybe
we're okay with that, Daniel. We're okay with that. We could. I don't know. Think about that. Could we do like a? I don't know. We could do increments of 100 or something in that. And we can figure something out if that be the case. Yeah.
Y'all are having a better season than we have the past couple years.
Yeah. Daniel, I do know you have to get back to your charity event, and the fact that you're, St. Jude is right here in our backyard. We've actually collaborated with them on a few things lately. And we've talked to some of their folks about potential for some of what we do through duckDNA to allow them to reach out to hunters for some of the information and engagement that they're looking for as well. So there's all sorts of sort of tangential sort of connections here with what y'all are doing and the things that we're involved in now. So that's all really cool. And again, and that's wonderful news about some of what y'all are doing this evening coming back to DU as well. But again, thank you. I guess one of our challenges here as we close out, you said there was over $100,000 contributed to the first, the inaugural turkey stamp. I mean, I certainly hope waterfowl hunters can get behind this and blow that number out of the water. You can do that through the stamp. If you have an interest in giving at a higher level, for any of this, get in touch with us or get in touch with your Ducks Unlimited Director of Development. If there is an interest in that, we can have those conversations and figure something out. But this right here, the 2025 Mossy Oak Waterfowl Conservation Stamp is an outstanding way for everyone to get involved at really whatever level they want to as well. And Daniel, it's made possible by you and your family. Thank you. And we'll stay in touch as the season unfolds and may get back together on another episode, but I want to let you get back to what you're doing. So thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, and on our site too, I should have one on right now, but I've got my old Shadowgrass polo on. But we have 2 new shirts that we made for ducks. One just says "Conservation is cool" across the chest. That's a great shirt for anybody. It's on a Shadowgrass t-shirt. And then we have another one that has the stamp printed on the shirt. So both of those are great t-shirts for this project. And we should, if you find a St. Jude patient who loves ducks, we should and has a little bit of artistic ability, we should let them paint their own little stamp. We'll do a little kid shirt or I love, you talked about the federal duck stamp program. I love how they always do the kids competition. So
yeah, for sure.
We should dig a little deeper there and do something cool.
Sure. And I left that shirt, the one with the stamp on it, is actually in my office. I came down here without it. So I have that one. And I can't find it right now on the site, but it's there. But anyway, go to the Mossy Oak store, search for the Waterfowl Conservation stamp, Waterfowl Conservation t-shirt, find all that good, all those good things that support the project. So thank you, Daniel. We'll let you get back to your day.
Yep. Thanks for having me on and appreciate y'all's friendship.
Okay. Thanks, man.
See ya.
See ya.
All right. Well, thanks to Daniel. What we'll do right now is take a break, and then we'll come back and we will talk with Phil some more, finally give him a chance to talk in a little bit more detail along with Ty about some of the results that we've had come in for the first couple of years. So y'all stay with us. We will be right back. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Dr. Mike Brasher. We're going to continue this episode where we're talking about duckDNA. And so again, thank you to Daniel Hayes who joined us prior to the break. I want to go back to the website, Mossy Oak website, Chris, because during the break I did find the duck stamp t-shirt that Daniel was talking about. There you see it in the Mossy Oak, the original Shadowgrass Conserve Our Wetlands, featuring the stamp that appears on that waterfowl conservation stamp. So and it does reference the stamp here, and when you purchase the stamp, you do support duckDNA. Takes you back to there. So very easy to find both of those, and go check those out. Great opportunity to support duckDNA, Ducks Unlimited, and UTEP, and all the great work that's going on. And so, speaking of great work that's going on and results that we have gotten, Ty, do you want to take us through here? You go to the homepage and we've got view results, and you've added a lot of information to that.
Yes, we've had plenty of samples and plenty plenty of new data to add to this, but this past season was a great year. We greatly expanded from our first season. In total, we had 1,158 samples that have come into duckDNA.
Is that just last year?
Yeah, just last year. Yeah. It's almost
That's
twice
more
as
than I
many
thought.
as we had in that first season. So we definitely expanded, and hopefully this season we'll be able to expand even more and accept more samples and get even more data. So yeah, Mike mentioned on our homepage, if you press this new button, View Results, and this has a greatly expanded and updated results page for us. And there's 3 different tabs that you can look at. You can look at all seasons, which has our total results, and then you can get a breakdown between our 2 previous seasons.
I'm going to go to 24-25 just real quickly. So
Yes.
it shows that. There you are. Now I'm going to go back to all seasons because we have more information on that all season page, right? Okay.
Yeah, we have some more detailed breakdowns of how many participants we had by flyways, how many samples by flyways. You can see, if you're viewing, a nice map of all of our samples that we've received. Sparkled all across the U.S. from
all 48 states.
All 48 states, believe it or not. Yeah. You can see there are still some areas that we have not had samples yet. So if you hunt there, definitely apply, and we will definitely like to have your samples from there. And also below that, we have some scientific insights, just a few of the really interesting things that we've found through duckDNA, highlighting some of the interesting 3 species hybrids that we've come across, that famous northern shoveler blue-winged teal cinnamon teal hybrid, that 3-way cross. So that was really surprising and interesting to see, for sure. Then also some of the first state records that we were able to genetically confirm through duckDNA. We had a Mexican duck in Idaho, another one in Arkansas, and also a bicol teal in Nevada, which was really exciting to see and have come in.
We double and triple checked that Mexican duck in Idaho, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
One of the things I will say is that the group here that we have doesn't just give Phil and Virgie and his lab a pass and just say, okay, this is what Phil says, it must be what it is. I mean, there's been probably a dozen or more instances where you don't know all this, Phil, but they come to me and they're like, we have some questions about this. And it's like, should we reach out? I'm like, yeah, reach out, ask a question. Let's double check these types of things. And that has proven very valuable in some instances because there's additional information and that comes into play at times. And I would most of the time, Phil replies back and says, yeah, that's what I said it is, right? Is that fair?
Yeah.
Well, but I guess the other thing would say that y'all are pointing out and bringing to his attention these samples that may look a little bit curious, right?
Well, and I think Phil said on the last episode we had, Phil doesn't get all the extra information we get, right? So Phil is running these, I will say blind, right? So
very objectively.
Yeah. So
pretty much, I don't look at the pictures. I don't look at anything. It's just I call them as it is. If I see mix-ups in things, then I might ask for more information. But typically, I just don't even look at it. So a lot of times when I see the Instagram, like recently with the teal, that's the first time I'd ever looked at that picture.
You're missing out.
I'm
You're missing so much.
Thank God the genetics is still right. Anyways.
But it makes it a super fun day in the office too, because everyone's like, is it real? Is it not real? Is it? And so we all get really excited. And it's just an adventure. It's a fun time. And then we get to kind of sit a little earlier than we release some of these images. We get to sit on it and kind of get excited about the release of this next one,
What else, Ty?
Yes, if we keep going down, we've got this big table of all the different hybrids that we've come across. Plenty of mixes with wild mallards, and then some interesting ones with game farm mallards, including a wood duck with a game farm mallard, some mottled ducks. And then even our breakdown of some of the 3 taxa hybrids we've had. So that includes, mostly it's been wild mallards with a game farm mallard and then a 3rd species of duck. But we have a few, like I mentioned, that 3-way teal hybrid too.
There's some geese down in here, foreshadowing of some exciting stuff coming in October, y'all. Stay tuned.
Yes, that'll be, definitely check the social feeds for that one. We'll be showcasing some of those. And then if we keep going down, we've got highlighting some of the game farm mallard ancestry results. This is one of the big objectives of duckDNA, is to look more into this. And we have some really cool maps that you can see broken down by flyways. And this first map here, that is looking at just mallards. and the percent of game farm ancestry that we've had from those mallard samples. So you can see in the Atlantic flyway, 73% of mallards that we've received from those standard kits had some game farm ancestry in them, which is the highest compared to the other flyways, which Mississippi had 22%, Central 10%, and the Pacific Flyway had 20% of mallards with those game farm ancestry genes in them. And then also you can see it in a pie chart form, better visualization, and you can see between the Pacific, Central, and Mississippi Flyways, it's all kind of relatively similar. About 80 to 90% of birds were pure wild mallards, and then 1 to 2% were those pure game farms, and then a mix of 9 to 22% were those hybrids between wild and game farms. But if you look at the Atlantic Flyway, that is switched with 71%, again, containing those game farm genes of a hybrid between that and the wild type. And then too, you can see specific locations where we've come across those samples that had game farm mallard genes. And looking at it is a pretty even spread all across the U.S. Atlantic Flyway does have a lot, but even everywhere from Texas to Oregon and Maine and Minnesota, they all have had game farm mallard genes in those mallards.
45 of the 48 states that we've is where we've encountered the game farm ancestry thus far. We're pretty sure that given enough samples and time, we'll find game farm ancestry in every state here. California, the Pacific Flyway is particularly interesting. I know Phil thought about that, and I even had a question on a call the other day. We are really interested, like, are those associated with game farm releases, or are they associated with birds that have been, domestic birds that have been released into some of those city parks and, urban areas, and that occasionally venture out into areas where they're harvested? Phil, do you have any insight, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that 20% is being heavily pushed by California, and I do know that there is a breeder specifically of game farm mallards in California, exactly in that little hotspot that we found in that Central Valley area that are clearly being put out. It's completely outside of this. These proportions, like especially for across these flyways, are almost identical to when I do external surveys for, let's say, Fish and Wildlife or state agencies, and that ratio was almost identical. When we got 100 birds out of the Klamath, 20% of them were had game farm or were just simply feral game farms. So they're in that pool, and that was a random sampling out of the Klamath area in Northern California and Oregon, and it mimics what we find here. So I'm fairly certain that the Pacific Flyway signatures is largely driven by that. We definitely need some participants out of Washington. But
we enrolled. We enrolled a large number of people from Washington. I want to go back and see where our samples are. Yeah, look at this. So a large number of duckDNA samples from Washington. The other map I was showing, these are the locations of birds with game farm ancestry, which is interesting. I got another map we're going to show you here in a bit, too, where we can get finer level information that nobody else has seen yet. Has Phil seen it?
I don't think he has, no.
I don't think I've ever seen any of this stuff.
It's all good stuff.
Well, you should visit our website more often, Phil. Come on.
That's right. Okay, what now?
Yes. So there's more maps, more graphs too to look at. So one of the things with those standard kits, it's not just for mallards, it's for mallard-like ducks. So that includes black ducks, Mexican ducks, and mottled ducks. So further down, we have a breakdown of each of those three species, some more pie charts looking at the percentage of their hybridization, not just with game farm mallards, but other mallard-like ducks. You can see American black ducks. We had a whole bunch of samples of them, almost 300, so a good sample size. And about 42 were pure black ducks, and then another 42% were black duck wild mallard hybrids. And that remaining percentage was mixed with game farm mallards and one black duck, mottled duck hybrid as well, which is interesting. Mexican ducks, haven't had many of those. We'd love to have more to analyze, only about 18. But again, that was about 50% were pure Mexican ducks, and then a bigger breakdown of hybrids with those game farm birds. Then finally, those mottled ducks. For this one, this is combining the Florida coast population and the Western Gulf Coast population, which doing duckDNA, we can separate those two subspecies, but for this pie chart, this is combining them. And you can see there's a much higher degree of hybridization with them and wild mallards and game farm mallards and other mallard-like ducks as well. So that for that species, it does seem like they are hybridizing more with other mallard-like ducks. And I know that's something that Phil is going to be getting into a little bit more detail later. But yeah, this is what we have on our website.
That's just
Please
a big
check it
mix
out.
of things right there.
Yes, it is.
Just
it's a widespread.
mottled ducks, wild mallards, game farm wild, game farm, black ducks, Mexican ducks.
Yeah.
And the Mexican duck thing, so that's the other part that does sort of predispose mottled ducks to that wider, I guess, range of hybridizations. If you've got a Western Gulf Coast population where they do interact with Mexican ducks, and then you've got the Florida population of mottled ducks where you're going to get more encounters with black ducks. And then, as you said, we can go to the specific years and learn, get a few additional details about where these birds have been sampled from.
And I was just gonna note that American black duck, we published a paper, but that found the same exact thing. But the introductions of mottled duck into Carolina, South Carolina, that's the reasoning behind that. And we found a couple different papers, North Carolina and South Carolina, where we find the same signatures of breeding ducks in that area. So this is it. It's nice to see that, things are kind of holding up, and now we can sort of monitor that. Yeah, breaking that mottled duck up into Florida and Western Gulf Coast will get you a bit better understanding of what's happening there. But we'll chat on that some more. But and then I was also going to say the American black duck thing. What I was hoping to see is a heat map of that, because my hypothesis has always been that interior U.S. side are hybrids and coastal black ducks are your true black ducks. So I'm wondering if our sample sizes are big enough now to try to figure that kind of thing out. But
I don't know that they're large enough yet. I know you have done some heat maps, but I don't know if it was for black ducks based on that. But you did some interesting things with black ducks, looking at where the hybrids mostly occur, I think, east-west or something of that nature.
Yes, we did have, I wanted to plot the black ducks and mallard duck hybrids, and that was something interesting we found because we had quite a few that were in the Pacific and Central Flyway, which black ducks usually are only in the Atlantic and some in the Mississippi Flyway, but we saw that there were some hybrids even far off west, even we had several in California. So that was very interesting. And we're thinking that those are more the second or third generation hybrids as those genes get more diluted and those birds migrate and move more, that they can spread further west. But even in California, you can get a black duck mallard hybrid, but you got to confirm it through duckDNA.
Are we ready to show Phil this next thing that you've developed?
I think so.
Okay, here we go, Phil.
Oh, man.
Oh, boy.
So many surprises on this.
Yes. And this is the duckDNA interactive map. And this is going to be live by the time this episode releases.
Too advanced for you.
I'm struggling here.
A lot of buttons and things to scroll on with this for sure.
So this is like reminiscent of that whole the COVID dashboard like Johns Hopkins had, and so now this platform is, you can develop this where it summarizes it at the county level.
Yes.
Well, state level or county level, right? Yep. So tell us what's going on here.
Sure.
I got a lot of stuff. I got to
on this left side, we have some filters that we can use. As we've talked about, we have two different sampling kits, those hybrid and standard. So you can, or both, you can switch in between those if you'd like, and then search by state. So if you want to look at results just from maybe Arizona, you can click that. It'll zoom in.
I'm in Arkansas, though.
Oh, yeah, I was like, that's not it.
I'm not in Arizona for mallards. There are some.
Any state you'd like to look at. So Arkansas, it'll zoom in there, and on the right side, it has some of those metrics and stats, and that'll be specific to what filter you're choosing. So that is showing now. those stats for Arkansas, how many samples that we've received so far, how many participants. Even has a pie chart breaking down, again, those Mallard-Like ducks and what proportion of their ancestry contains game farm genes. As you can see in Arkansas, they've got, 6% contain game farm genes. That's interesting. Then below that, we have a table of all the different samples that we've received from that state, saying the identity of that taxa and then how many we've received. Then even if you want to dive even deeper down, we can look at the county level as well and look at those same metrics, but at the county level.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure this out here on the fly. You watching me, right? So
I am.
Okay, I can do this. Will that work? So
yes.
And will it change over here? No, I have to go over here and select this. Like if I want to go to Arkansas County in Arkansas, then I can do this. And then it's going to change this over here. And it will show, it had 5 participants, 13 samples submitted from Arkansas County, Arkansas. They were all 100% wild mallards. So the locations that you see plotted are not your harvest locations. They are the centroid of the county in which you indicated your harvest occurred, just to be clear. Over here we have, this is Tallahatchie County. Chad Manlove is a big supporter of and promoter of the project. He works here with us in our development department. And so Chad has been hard at work, and his boys have been hard at work filling a number of vials from Tallahatchie County. And so in order to get there, I think what I'm going to have to do is I have to reset up here, and then I have to go to Mississippi, right?
Yep, you can type Mississippi in.
If I can spell it right. Oh, I have to type it all the way out.
Ooh, I think I see my my pie chart. While you're doing this,
I have to do this. I had to reset on the county thing first. Okay, there we are. Now we do this. All right, and so Tallahatchie County, we're going to go. So and for the state of Mississippi, it's not this. 92 total samples from Mississippi, 19 participants. And we're going to go to Tallahatchie County over here, and it's going to tell me what the percentage over here. I could have clicked on it as I did, and it'll tell me the total number of samples. But if I want the percentage, the breakdown by ancestry, I have to change it over here, right? And then it shows up here. So 91% of the samples from Tallahatchie County over the first 2 years were pure wild mallards, right?
Yes.
What do you think of that, Phil? That's pretty cool.
This is actually a dream I had. So can you filter for just a particular hybrid? So basically being like, I really want a pintail mallard hybrid. Where's the highest likelihood that I might be able to do that? Can you filter for that?
Currently we cannot, but that is something that we can definitely work on.
So I went up to the top left and I selected just hybrid, right? And so 387. Let me do this. Oh, okay. So I was actually on both sample kit types originally. Did you know that?
I was aware that you were on there. Yes.
And you let me do that.
I thought you knew
you thought
what you were doing.
I knew what I was doing? No. See, you were wrong.
We are learning as we're going.
See how I turned that back onto Kayci? It was her fault. Yeah, she was wrong.
Yes, not
that
the person
happens all
doing the
time.
action.
That's right. So we can go to the hybrid kit type, and it will show 387. Now does this include like somebody submits? Like I submitted a bird that I thought was 100% wild mallard, but it came back like 75% wild mallard, 25% black duck. Is it in here? This only the kit? The hybrid
That's
kits.
based on the kit.
So this is based on what you registered to do. So if you registered for a hybrid kit, then you're under the hybrid selection. If you registered for that standard kit, then you're under the standard.
Okay, cool. And we have had some show up. All right, well, this would explain a few things. So we have had some people submit something that they thought was a hybrid, but it turns out not to be, right? Okay, that's what's going on there. Widgeon, yeah. And some of these also, I think, would be, well, no. They're just unique looking birds also that we would have sampled.
Could be blonde or some leucism or something.
Back to Phil's question, we can't necessarily We can't do that yet, right?
No, but you can still explore like what county that you do the most hunting in. You can see what we've analyzed so far from there, what you can expect in nearby counties. If the county that you do hunt in is not on our map yet, you can go out and scout for there and try to get some more samples and fill in that map.
I have a ton of other questions for you, but we're going to move along because we have other things to cover. But go check this out on the duckDNA website, duckDNA.com. Go to the results, drop-down menu, interactive map. Spend some time there, play around with it. Lots of cool information there. So, okay, we're going to try to move through a few other things. Phil, I know there was one thing that we encountered during the first 2 years, and it related to mottled ducks from Florida. It was a particularly interesting discovery. We had a number of people that would submit birds, presumed 100% wild Florida mottled ducks. They looked beautiful. They had amazing photos, had all the characteristics of mottled ducks, and they would go in for analysis, and the results would always come back in like 88%, 92%, 94%, whatever. It would not get to that 100% pure threshold. And ultimately, it got to a point where we were talking with you about this, and we're like, that's just kind of weird. Let's double check that. And so you took all of those samples that had some mottled duck ancestry in them. May have had, you can tell us if you did the Mexican duck ancestry too, but I know it was the ones that had the mottled duck ancestry. And you reran those because you were curious about something. So tell us what happened. And I'm going to go pull up that PowerPoint while you're talking.
Yeah, if you can. Yeah, so this was, again, one of those situations where I get an email being like, this is kind of curious. And then Mike's being like, yeah, they're all 88 something. And then I was like, Mike, you're right. Something is odd. So when we start seeing multiple individuals independently getting this almost the same assignment, there's some ancestry in there. We call it ghost population, where the analysis can't quite figure it out because something's changed in the genetics of that group. That when I compare it to Florida mottled ducks, the what I considered my reference set, but sampled from 2009, 2010 hunting season, I assumed anything that is a pure mottled duck today would have been the same thing 15 years ago now. But what's occurred is not that. Something has shifted in that population. And so what I needed to do was pull in every mottled duck, Florida mottled duck that we've got access to, and then do a single analysis, not just where there's one or two samples in that analysis, but all of them together. So if there is a change in their genetics for whatever reason, I would be able to find that. And that's exactly what happened. So once we pulled it, I stopped seeing the weird assignments of Florida mottled duck by something and something else or something else. Like we had talked about early, like sometimes it would be against the khaki Campbell, which is our sort of park duck representative, against game farm, against wilds, against others. And when it's switching around like this, where it's 88% Florida mottled duck and 12% something else, there is something wrong there. It doesn't know what to do with that, with that 12% is what it was telling me. But once I put it all together, then it resolved itself because we finally got enough samples of Florida mottled ducks for it to work. Are we going to pull that thing up?
I have it on my screen. I don't know. Are you going to be able to see it? Will he be able to see it, Chris?
Yeah,
we're working on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if whoever's watching this in on YouTube or wherever this is, then you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. I'll try to explain it as best as I can to the audience that's listening to this at 3 a.m. when you're driving to your duck spot. The first part, so what you're looking at, what I'm going to show you is a bunch of cluster analyses. So like each ball represents a sample, and where they cluster tells me something about their genetics. The closer they cluster, the more similar their genetics is. The further away they cluster, the more dissimilar their genetics is. So for example, what we're showcasing right now are just the reference population sets that we compare everything against. In this case, it's Mexican duck, wild mallard, Western Gulf Coast mottled duck, Florida mottled duck, game farm mallards, and khaki Campbell. And in this clustering, what you can what the first thing you should see is that both mottled ducks are very different, and they're very different from wild mallards. And all of them are extremely different from game farm mallards and khaki Campbell. So you could see how different those domestic birds are from wild birds. But you could also see that Mexican ducks and wild mallards are extremely similar, much more similar to one another than either of the mottled ducks are to the wild mallard.
Hey, Phil?
Yeah.
Where would black ducks be in this space?
I didn't want to put them because they would cluster very, very... It would be the top... it would be like right, but offset of Mexican duck, wild mallard, black duck. It'd be this triple cluster there. Yeah. It'd be offset. And if I zoomed into it, you'll see the differences. It looks like they're overlapping just because the size of the balls and how zoomed out they are. But they do separate out.
And so just briefly, if people are wondering, so the separation that is occurring here, we don't need to get into the statistical analysis or whatever, but it's grouping based on a variety of measures from the portion of the genome that you're analyzing, right? And it's finding degrees of similarity or elements of similarity across what are all the different little measurements that you're taking from the genome, right?
Exactly. It goes variant by variant, or the single nucleotide polymorphism, so a SNP. And we have 30,000 of them. And for every single SNP, it asks the question, are you similar or dissimilar? And it clusters them this way.
All right, good. So that's what this space is along these two axes. So. Okay.
Exactly. So then what you'll see here, but in general, a hybrid would be some sort of intermediate space between whatever parents hybridized, right? And so this is just a way to visualize that kind of the population structure and the differences. And this really showcases how different mottled ducks are, how similar Mexican ducks are, but in particular, how different game farm mallards and khaki Campbell are from wild mallards.
Okay. You tell me when you want me to go to the next slide.
Next slide.
Okay, got it.
So when I reanalyzed all this with all the mottled ducks that we got from duckDNA against those samples from 2010, we could what I immediately saw was that there really is a genetic shift, and it clusters over Florida mottled duck, but they're shifted. Click one more time. So when we blow it up, you can actually see that shift. So what this is telling me is the genetics of the population over the last 15 years has randomly changed, and they've shifted their ancestry by random processes that we call genetic drift.
Well, they've gone farther away from any of the others. I don't know if that's the right way to talk about it.
That's the shift. Right. So you imagine the diversity of a population is some sort of normal distribution, and what's happening is that for whatever reason, frequencies of the left side of that distributions were picked or favored, and so that population shifts. Now, the only time we see a shift like this in a population is when we're dealing with very small populations, where the loss of one or two or a few individuals is actually quite significant. We don't see this kind of shift. When I look at Western Gulf Coast mottled ducks collected at the same exact time in 2010 versus today, you don't see that shift. They just completely overlay in the same genetic space. But these guys have shifted, and this now explains why all those birds that you're seeing right there are now 100% true wild Florida mottled ducks, which is great to see. But why all of them initially had this 88 plus something, it's because that plus something is that shift that the program could not figure out when it was just one or two samples. It was like, yeah, it's mostly Florida mottled duck, but there's something different about them. And so then now we know that.
And so how do we know it's not just like some product of increased hybridization with game farm mallards or something like that?
Well, now that we have these samples, I can actually identify those hybrids. So if you click one more time, we can overlay the rest of those duckDNA samples, and we can start actually seeing those hybrids. So the Florida game farm mallards, so the ones there's a bunch of birds in blue boxes So all the boxes are hybrids. So those are Florida game farm mallards, and you could see they encompass some sort of intermediate space between today's Florida mottled duck and game farm mallards, right? So we can see that shift. And in fact, those pink boxes that are that is a game farm wild mallard hybrid that bred with a Florida mottled duck, you could see that shift towards wild mallard as well, right? In that space. And then on top of it, we have those two Florida Western Gulf Coast wild mallard. That was a bird out of I think Eastern Texas. But you can actually see that green box sort of being in that shift. And when I look at the true ancestry, it's mostly Florida mottled duck. That's why it's clustering there. But it's away from those orange boxes and towards sort of this intermediate space of Western Gulf Coast and wild mallard, right? So now we've sort of figured the situation out. We have samples that allow us to actually identify what's happening today in our Florida mottled duck, and we recovered a potential issue or conservation concern that might be occurring for Florida mottled ducks that would otherwise be left unknown right now. Yeah.
So, Phil, if we go back one slide and we look at that genetic drift you're talking about from 2010 to now, our current day samples of duck DNA.
You're talking about this stuff here.
Yes.
Yellow to the brown.
Yep, the yellow to the brown/orange, whatever color you think that is.
Yeah.
I think it's orange because I made it orange.
Yeah. Get them.
Burnt orange. Because you're from Texas, right? So,
Auburn is going to be the way I lean there. But okay, what is the implication here of this genetic drift over such a short period of time?
Yeah. So what this is telling us is that the only way for this to occur is that the breeding population of Florida mottled ducks has gone to a small enough level that there are significant implications from one generation to the next. So this is something that we see in endangered species, in small population sizes, where the number of breeding. So your population. So I need to take one step back. Your population could be quite large, but the number of individuals contributing every generation is called your effective population size. And if your effective population size declines to a certain level, then the randomness of life, like who survives and breeds, actually has an impact on genetic diversity. And at that point, if it does, that's when we see actual changes in that diversity from one generation to the next. And if you do see that, then you need to start asking the question, what is happening to my population?
Can you calculate effective population size from genetic samples over time?
From these samples, yeah.
Okay. And so as you go forward, in theory, if you had a large enough sample year to year, periodically from the same geography, you could see what the trend in that effective population size is.
Yeah. So in fact, as you were saying that, I'm like, oh, I should have done this for this podcast. But we can analyze the yellow dots, so 2010, and the Auburn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Orange. Let's just go with orange.
No.
Orange box ones, and actually see, has that changed, right? So are we seeing a decline in the last 15 years in the effective population size? And that essentially translates to the number of breeding pairs that are on the landscape and contributing from one generation to the next. And now with duckDNA, we could do this year in and year out if we have at least, 10 to 20, 25 is always our magical number, 25 good Florida mottled ducks, then we can get really good estimates from the data that we already have. And that's the beauty of this project, is now we can start asking these kinds of meaningful questions without having to go get more data. The data is already there. We just need to plug it into some models and get some numbers out of them.
It's fascinating discovery. I think one of the things that listeners need to be aware of is that if you hunt in Florida, there's probably will probably be I think there's justification for us trying to enroll a few more hunters from Florida this year, maybe the Western Gulf Coast as well, because of to get a little bit more information, make sure we get enough information on this particular issue. So that is, as Phil said, sort of the way that we can leverage what we're doing to inform very specific scientific questions. Thoughts?
I think, too, just a reminder, like you'll hear us request certain species of ducks. And part of this is for what we call our reference library that we keep bringing up, right? This is so that we can grow a more robust set of genetic data sets for these species so that we can do these comparisons and we can ask these questions and we can kind of dig deeper into some of these scientific inquiries that we'll find as we go along the way. And that's the exciting and beautiful part of duckDNA growing and getting a large enough sample size that we can do these things.
We're going to start wrapping this up here. Before we do, I have two other things. One is we continue to get questions this time of year about whether people from Canada can participate in this. I just want to clarify the challenge with that is our ability to, or the ability of participants in Canada to ship those samples back. Whenever you take, you have to have a special permit to ship a tissue sample back to the U.S. So you're dealing with sort of international border laws and regulations there, and so we don't want to expose people to all of the issues that kind of come along with that. We thought we were going to be able to. We thought we would have time this year to find a partner in Canada to where people could send samples and then we could ship them back in bulk under the proper permitting and all that type of stuff. We didn't get to that. And so it's not easy for us to collect samples, to enroll participants that would be collecting samples from Canada. So we haven't gotten that figured out yet. So stay tuned. We might in a subsequent year. The other have several other questions that we routinely get from our Instagram post or Facebook post or hybrid of the week that we're doing. And I only wanted to focus on one of them here because it's probably the one that is most frequently asked. And that is when we have a first generation hybrid where the parents are pure species A and pure species B, and the result comes back with like 48% species 1, 52% species 2. We ask, people will comment often, why isn't it 50-50? If it's a first generation, 2 species, why 48-52 or 47-53? I'm going to find one of those while you're talking, Phil.
Yeah. So the simple math of it is that that's a point estimate. So it's like an average across the genome. And what we really need to look at is the standard error that is provided when I do these analyses. Obviously, nobody else really sees them, but I do. So typically, our standard error is plus minus 3%. So in fact, something like what you just put up, this 52-48, both of them just overlap 50% if you put the standard error. But we report the point estimate, that single number. Now, there's also another reason for some of these things, and that's because a lot of the genome in waterfowl is pretty well conserved. It just says duck or goose, right? And so a lot of that is also that random stochastic events that occur that may sway it one way or the other. But again, it gets resolved within the standard error. That error will go up and down. Actually, the more conserved just ancestral duck or waterfowl an individual has. So that's the easy way of answering it. Now, you've shown a lot of interesting stuff here. I will tell you that I am a couple steps away that people are going to not only get a certificate, but they're actually going to get their the chromosomes of their ducks painted, and they can start looking at it. And I could better answer this question soon, but through those visualizations, because what we're going to map is not only what parts of the chromosome is pintail and mallard, but also what parts are conserved. And what parts we keep seeing as conserved, right? And so we could start actually asking or answering the question folks are asking. Why are we getting that 5248? Is that simply just a math thing, with missing data? Not everything's complete, and so you just have to take the standard error into it, or is there biological meaning behind that? And so we're hoping to get to that, and I'm sort of hoping to roll it out this year, but we'll see how this goes.
And here I was hoping you were going to give us an easy answer. And you were kind of holding something, had something up your sleeve too. You kind of felt like you felt left out, right? That you
I felt left out.
Have any information to drop on us.
Everybody was dropping all this awesome stuff, and I'm like, oh man.
Yeah. And shout out to Evan Barefoot. If we get this one on the screen here, this is the Mallard Pintail Hybrid that is featured on that green hat. Thank you, Evan, for allowing us to use that. So, all right. What else do we need to talk about?
I wanted to say, because this reminded me of something. So we're finally getting to some numbers on the hybrid side. I have a brand new student that we're, in addition to this whole mapping thing, we're hoping to map plumage traits that we're finally figuring out onto that map to start understanding why certain traits in let's say a pintail mallard, Gadwall pintail, Gadwall mallard, whatever it is, show up. Is there some predictability to that, or is it simply randomness of who mom and dad were and what they had? So
you're talking about some of the facial patterns that show up. It's like, this doesn't look like the genetics say it's these two species, but neither of those parent species have that defined trait or doesn't express that trait as a pure individual. Yeah, that'll be awesome.
I have lots of questions, but I won't go down that rabbit hole right now. So when we're in Texas, I've got questions for you.
Yeah.
So many questions.
Yeah, our team is finally going to go out after like 2.5 years or maybe 3 years of doing this. We're finally going to get together as a team and discuss and go over certain things. It's been an exciting ride so far, Phil, just to kind of think how far this entire effort has come in that period of time. And again, it doesn't happen without the hunters that are so enthusiastic about participating. So thank you all for that. Spread the word about the availability of the project. You now have a way to directly support the project. And so again, Mossy Waterfowl Conservation Stamp, thank them so much for their support of Ducks Unlimited, UTEP, and duckDNA. Go to duckDNA.com and apply if you haven't. Am I missing anything? I think we're...
Check out our social medias too for more posts for Teal Timber.
That's right. We are active. We right now recording this. We are actively in what we are referring to as teal timber, paying tribute to the early teal season and the opening of hunting seasons across North America right now. And again, stay tuned for October. Katie, can I give them a hint? Do I need to? You want me to use the name? Okay.
Do the mic drop. Full
mic drop. What's it gonna? You need to do it.
Are you guys ready for this?
Yeah, we're ready for this.
Next month, we will officially launch our Goosetoberfest.
Spooky.
It's a spooky
Spooky Goosetoberfest.
That's right.
Whatever that means to you.
And to be fair, hybrid geese are spooky looking, so
that is what we will be featuring. Each of our Hybrid of the Week posts during the month of October will highlight some of the hybrid geese that have been submitted, and we're going to continue to welcome in those hybrid geese for analysis this year. And selections. By the time, we don't know when this episode is going to be released. By the time this episode is out, the selections will probably, for the first round of selections, will probably have already been made. We are going to try to enroll up to 1,000 participants for our standard kits this year, with up to 250 or so hybrid kits issued. We're pretty confident we will have a waiting list for the hybrid kits, the same way we do with the standard kits now. We're working to figure out how we're going to make those decisions and what options might be available how we're going to make decisions on who to enroll. And stay tuned. Stay tuned for more on our social media channels. Check out duckdna.com check the results out. And engage with us if you have questions on our Instagram, Facebook, or send us an email. Thanks, folks, for joining us. Phil, thank you so much for all the work that you continue to do. Thanks to Virgie, thanks to Victoria, all the other folks that are influential and very critical in your lab. Kayci, thank you for joining us here in studio.
Glad to be here. Glad to help.
And Ty, thank you for making your first appearance on the Ducks Unlimited podcast and for all that you're doing with duckDNA.
Thank you. It was fun.
And then thank you to Katie Tucker, who's been minding us over there, making sure we stay on track over there in the corner. And so you'll be hearing from Katie Tucker later on in some future episode about some future topic. And as always, we thank Chris Isaac for the great work he does, Rachel Jarrett as well for her effort on all these episodes. We thank you for your support of wetlands and waterfowl conservation, duckDNA, and science.
Thank you for listening to the DU Podcast, sponsored by Purina Pro Plan, the official performance dog food of Ducks Unlimited. Purina Pro Plan, always advancing. Also proudly sponsored by Bird Dog Whiskey and Cocktails. Whether you're winding down with your best friend or celebrating with your favorite crew, Bird Dog brings award-winning flavor to every moment. Enjoy responsibly. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and visit ducks.org/DU Podcast. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of Ducks Unlimited. Until next time, stay tuned to the Ducks.